So, you have all attended the class where I made introductory lecture to the changes in syllabus, which is not much actually, right? We saw that it's not much. There are more deletions than additions. Okay. So in today's class, what I will be discussing is the most major uh, uh, change, okay, which you have to concentrate on and which you need to get some mastery over, right? So what I have decided is I will show you in detail the consolidation process, okay? Consolidated process. That's the main thing. The others are theory. We may not have time for the theory part, like, testing of internal controls, etc. So whatever time permits, we will discuss, but I will discuss the major one. The major one is consolidation. Okay. So major one is consolidation. So that's what we will do. And of course, multiple regression. I will just show you how it works. Fine. And that's what we will do here. So this class I will be actually coaching, sort of, explaining the concept. The last time I just gave an introductory explanation, right, which is not sufficient for you to tackle examination questions. Okay. So here, what we will do is go in and see how the consolidation works, right? I will do it on a Word document. So I'll just do a demonstration of a consolidation. Okay. Let me introduce two balance sheets. I'll put the balance sheets in a T form. Okay. I'll put the balance sheets in a T form. This is the investor's balance sheet. Okay. Who will become a parent once he takes over. Fine. And this is the target company's balance sheet. I'll put here target, who is going to be taken over. All clear? Let us the investor's capital, let it be $1,000, which they have cash 1,000. Okay, which they have cash 1,000. And this is made up of maybe 4 shareholders. A with 250 capital, B with 250 capital, C 250, and D 250 capital. Okay. I'm making it a very simple demonstration. Very simple demonstration. Okay. And then here, let us say they have assets of 750, fixed assets maybe, and cash of 250. The main thing, the balance sheet should balance. Okay, and here also 1,000, 1,000. All good so far? Okay, all good? Okay. Now I will make a small change, okay, in the balance sheet. Now I'll make a small change in the balance sheet. Okay. Now the investor, before he has taken over the company, let him grant a loan. Let him grant a loan to the investee company or to the target company. A loan is granted of 250. Okay. So it will become loan receivable. I'll put LR as a short form. Okay, loan receivable 250. Is that okay? Loan receivable 250. Okay. But the cash also should reduce, is it not? The cash also should reduce. How much will the cash become?
750.
750 is right. Cash will become 750. Still, the balance sheet balances. That's the most important thing. Okay. Now, here they will get a loan. Okay. They're getting a loan here. So it will become loan payable 250. And what will the cash become? The cash will increase, is it not? Okay, the cash will increase by 250. Before it was 250, now it will become 500. All good?
Yeah.
Okay, I just put an intercompany transaction. Okay, which is the loan. So what will be the balance? Just check the totals of the target company. How much is it?
1250.
1250 is right. Okay. Now let us assume the takeover takes place. They take over by cash. Let us say they buy the shares of these three. Okay, these three. So that becomes a 75% holding. Right or wrong? Yeah, it becomes a 75% holding. So there is control. Anything, any ownership, voting interest of more than 50%, there is supposed to be control. And when there is control, US GAAP says that you have to consolidate both the balance sheets. Okay, when you're reporting it, you have to consolidate and show it as one economic entity. Okay, so at the moment they have taken off these three people, they have not taken one part, which is called the non-controlling interest. Okay, the part which they have not taken over is called non-controlling interest. Fine. So now, how will the balance sheet look after the takeover? How will the balance sheet look after the takeover? We'll adjust it here itself. What will happen to the cash? They have purchased the share with cash, right? So what will happen to the cash? Cash will become 0. Okay. The cash will become 0. I'll put a new balance sheet. Investor balance sheet. The capital as it is 1000. Cash 0. The loan receivable is still there because we have not yet consolidated. 250. Okay. And then what happens? The balance sheet is not balancing. What should we add there? Anybody?
Investment.
Yes, sir. Investment. Investment of 750. Okay. It will be accounted under the equity method. Equity method is a long method. To explain, it will take time. So I would just say now, for the timing, if you have finished your coaching, you know what is equity method. Okay. Right. So, But at the time of showing the balance sheet, at the time of preparing the balance sheet, it will be consolidated. Okay. And what about this part? The target company's balance sheet, ABC have been paid off. So there will be the investors' capital. Investors' capital now is 750. Okay. And a non-controlling interest of D also exists, 250. Okay. Fine. There is a loan payable still existing of 250. Loan payable of still existing of 250. This is the target company, by the way. Fine. And then on the asset side, that same assets of 750 and cash of 500. Okay. Does the balance sheet tally? That both the balance sheets tally? Right? Tallying, no?
Yes.
Okay. Now the consolidation will take place. Now the consolidated. I'm showing you the very simple example with just intercompany payables and receivables. Okay. But if there is inventory which has been sold from one company to the other company, okay, and they have sold it for a profit, that profit should be eliminated. If there is fixed asset sale, the fixed asset profit should be eliminated. Okay. And of course, and any dividends received by each of any of the companies, that also should be eliminated. Okay. Because basically you cannot pay dividend to your own self, or you cannot make a profit from with your own self, because these two are one. They are one family now. You understood? So if your father gives you money, it is your father's and yours. I mean, right? So it is one family. It's that way. So it is cancelled out. Okay. Right. So when they're making a consolidated balance sheet, all that has to be seen. But in my example, I just shown you intercompany receivables and payables. So what remains when they consolidate? The capital of the investor will remain, which is 1,000. Okay, that is this capital, 1,000. Fine. And then all these will be represented by the assets. The D capital will be shown, which is the non-controlling interest, 250. Okay. The intercompany receivables and payables will get cancelled. Okay. The intercompany receivable and payable will get cancelled. This will all be done by working sheet entries. Okay. All this, no companies. Now, please note one thing. No company, either the investor company or the target company, will be passing entries for consolidation in their books. Okay. It's only a working sheet entry, a sort of a what you call pro forma entries. Okay. None, the investor or the target will not pass any entries in their books. You're getting the concept? Okay. It is a working sheet entry. They will do the debits and credits on a working sheet and put the balances on the consolidated balance sheet. So intercompany payable and receivable will be cancelled. The investment will be removed because that will be represented by the assets of the company. Okay. And the cash of the investor company as well as the target company will be shown, but investor company's cash is 0 here. So the cash of only the target company, cash of 500. There is no assets in the investor company. Otherwise, the investor company and the investee companies or target companies assets will be shown. In this case, only the target company's assets, 750. This is how.
6522. This
Pardon?
offer ends tonight. Get 90% off on all luxury pens.
I can't hear you, Abhishek. Your voice is very, very far. It's very, very, it's not audible actually.
No issues, sir. Okay, got it.
Okay. So,
Okay.
so here, the balance sheet agrees. 1,250, 1,250. So this is how the consolidated balance sheet will look. Okay. This is how the consolidated balance sheet will look with the intercompany receivables, payables removed, the investment removed, the assets of both the parent and the subsidiary will be shown. In this case, it so happened that the assets of the parent is nothing. So only the assets of the target is shown. Okay. Minority interest. In India, they call this which the D, which the company has not taken over. This is not a fully owned subsidiary, partially owned subsidiary. So this D is called the minority interest. In India, they call it minority interest. In US GAAP or in CMA, they would call this, or even in the CPA, the non-controlling interest. Non-controlling interest. You got it? Right. So non-controlling interest. And there is control. You see, one thing you should note. It should be, why are they showing? No, even though there is only 75% holding. Okay. They, only 75% is taken over, is it not? Of the total shareholding. Right. But why are they showing the complete consolidation? All the assets of the target company, why are they showing it on the balance sheet? Any idea? They should show only 75%, right? Why are they showing full? All the assets of the target company they're showing. Why is that?
Because they have purchased, they have invested now, say, in the target company.
But they have invested only 750, they have taken over, no? 75% they have taken over of the shareholdings. Okay. The reason is because they have control over the assets. You understood? Here there is what you call substance over legal form. That means they are having control over the assets, even though they do not own all the assets. Okay. So they show the entire thing which they have control over, and they show a non-controlling interest on the liability side or the equity side. Okay. That's how they are showing it. Got it? Now, one thing you should note, if there is no control, even though they have voting power, okay, even they have taken over majority of the shares and have got majority voting power, if there is no control, it shouldn't be consolidated. Suppose the target company is under liquidatorship, or it's under bankruptcy, and their assets is with the court. The investor has invested 75%, okay, but he doesn't have control over the assets because it is under bankruptcy. Let us assume that way, okay? So the court controls it. The bankruptcy court will be controlling all the assets. It should not be consolidated. Got it? It should not be consolidated. On the other hand, take another case wherein it does not own 75%. Okay, it does not own 75%, but it controls due to other factors. Okay, non-monetary factors, or not due to ownership of the shares, it still has control over the assets, then also it should be consolidated. So consolidation here depends on control rather than direct ownership. But generally, when they have direct ownership of majority of the shares, there is control. It's assumed there is control. Okay, but if something indicates that there is no control, if the subsidiary is in a foreign country and the foreign government has got more influence on that company and it has restricting powers, okay, the target company cannot send, or the subsidiary cannot send its earnings to the parent company, and basically the parent cannot control the subsidiary which is abroad. In such a case, there is no consolidation. They shouldn't consolidate. You understand? Reward model. This is when there is voting power, when the company has purchased a majority of shares. But sometimes it has to be consolidated when there is no purchase of any shares even. Maybe even if it's thinly capitalized. Thinly capitalized means the investor owns a little bit of shares, or it doesn't own anything at all. So this happened in Enron. That's why these rules came in US GAAP. Something should happen, right? So only then the rules will start coming. Enron was a big energy company. In the early 2000s, it went bust. It went bust because of many financial irregularities. Okay. They operated something called a special purpose entity. Okay. Have you heard about this? Anybody has heard about this? I'll put the full form. Special purpose entity. Yeah. Anyone here heard about special purpose entity? SPE?
Is it same as special purpose vehicle?
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. Okay. It's another word given to it is variable interest entity. Okay, another word given to it is variable interest entity. Have you heard about that? VIE, variable interest entity. Okay. These entities may be companies or partnerships set up for a special purpose to accomplish a narrow purpose. Okay. Which the company wants to keep off their books. Okay. So Enron, what did they do? They use this vehicle to deceive the shareholders. That is the problem. Okay. This is a piece of financial engineering which Enron used to deceive the shareholders. Okay, so this is Enron company. Okay, this is Enron company. Right. They set up special purpose entities by putting the Enron executives as the owners. I'll put their E just on top of them. Okay. A limited liability partnership. Okay, they set up not even a company, a limited liability partnership. Okay, by Enron executives. Fine. And then what did they do? Enron sold some assets to this special purpose entities. Sold assets. Okay, just see how they raised finance. Okay, they sold assets. In reality, only in paper the assets were sold. Okay, only in paper. It was physically present with Enron and they were using it because this is an entity created, a sort of a shell entity created by Enron itself. Okay. So on paper, it sold assets. And now the asset is the SPE is the owner of these assets. And what did they do? They approached a bank for a loan. They approached the bank for a loan. Okay. The bank gave them a loan. Loan. But will bank give loans just like that? Will bank give loans just like that?
You have to give security.
Yes.
Yeah,
They gave,
they have to give something mortgage.
yes, they gave these assets which they purchased. I'll put in inverted commas purchased. Okay, it's not a perfect purchase. They gave this as collateral to the bank. Okay. Right, collateral. And sometimes the Enron executives gave their shares in Enron. Enron shares were valued a lot at that time. Okay, as a security. Okay, and sometimes Enron gave a guarantee. That Enron's guarantee was holding a lot of weight, saying that if the SPE doesn't pay, they will pay. Okay, what's the result of this? This loan was used to pay off the assets as the sales proceeds for assets to Enron. You understood? So Enron got financing. Agreed or not? Enron got financing without actually physically removing their assets, but the assets were off their balance sheet. Okay, their assets were off their balance sheet even though physically present, and they get a loan. They get a loan from the bank. Okay, without having to show the loan on their balance sheet because the loan belongs to the SPE. And those days, because Enron doesn't own any shares in SPE, there is no voting power, Enron need not have to consolidate the SPE. See how the cheating took place. Such a lot of debt was off the balance sheet from Enron. Okay, assets were off the balance sheet but getting a good return. So the return on assets of Enron's was inflated. Okay, because they were showing lesser assets on the balance sheet. They got a loan without showing a debt on the balance sheet. They're showing it like sales proceeds. They're not showing it as debt. Okay, right. And they were deceiving the shareholders in this way. Enron opened, guess how many? 500 such SPEs. Okay, this was when the accounting rules changed way back in 2000, saying that if Enron has got a risk and reward from the SPE, that means if the SPE falls into some problem, Enron will have to fish them out. For example, Enron has given guarantee for the loan. Okay, so there is a risk here, which Enron has taken over. Okay, and the reward is the financing. They're getting the financing. They control this SPE 100%. All the economic and financial decisions of this SPE is taken by Enron. Okay, these two executives are just for namesake there, obeying Enron's orders. So Enron is considered here to be the special word for that, primary beneficiary. Primary beneficiary. The accounting rules changed that because they were deceiving the shareholders in this way by showing a lot of stuff off their balance sheet and getting financed. So their debt equity ratios showed fantastic. There was no debt. So they could get further financing from banks if they wanted because their balance sheet looks pretty. Okay. The accounting rules change that if Enron is the primary beneficiary and there is a full control over any special purpose entity or variable interest entity, it has to be consolidated. Before, it need not be consolidated. So they were taking advantage of that loophole and deceiving the shareholders. You understand me? After that, the rules came that even if it is thinly capitalized or not capital, there's no capital involved of Enron, but they have control and they are the primary beneficiary taking all the risks and rewards of the company or any other firm. Okay, then they have to consolidate it. Now, if they consolidate it, the SPE's assets will be their assets, SPE's loans will be their loans. Everything will come on the balance sheet, and shareholders can see the full fair view of the financials. You understand? So the consolidation was the cure for this kind of cheating stuff, what Enron was doing. Even now, special purpose entities do exist, but full disclosures has to be given about them. Okay. And also, if they are not consolidated, the reason why they are not consolidated should be given in the notes of the accounts. Okay. Along with that, any off-balance sheet financing, okay, any off-balance sheet financing or any other subsidiaries which have not been consolidated has to be disclosed and the reason why it is not being consolidated. You got it? So this is the risk and reward model of consolidation. So if it states that if the company involves substantially in the economics of other company, then consolidated financial statements is required. That is more or less about consolidation. Okay. Right. So the next topic here, which is actually quite major, what we can call it quite major, is actually the regression analysis. Okay. Now, since it's the first type of exam coming up on multiple regression, we really don't know what kind of questions they may be asking. First of all, in the beginning, it was simple regression. Advertising and sales. Advertising and sales. Sales is the dependent variable. Advertising is the independent variable. We got R as 0.92. Is it a good relationship? Is it a good relationship?
Yes.
Yeah. It is a good relationship with one outlier. What do you mean by outlier? Another word for that term. Outlier means something is going out of the normal behavior. Okay, that's okay. That's tolerable. You can make good predictions with this. For example, if you are spending advertising for about 10,000, we can predict how much will be the sales with about 80% accuracy. So R square here is determining how much percentage of sales depends on advertising or how much influence advertising has on sales, we can say. Advertising has got around 85% influence on the sales. That means there is 15% other factors. Okay, 15% other factors are there. Fine. Okay. Which actually has an influence on sales. It's not fully dependent on advertising. If R square was 1, it is fully dependent on advertising. Okay. Right. There is a standard error, of course, with this equation. This is the equation y is equal to 2x plus 1600. Okay. There is a standard error. Standard error means if you apply the equation for 1000, when the actual sales is 3000, it gives you 3600. So the little bit of error is there because R square is not perfectly 1. Okay. Now, if I spoil this relationship, let us say we spent $1 advertising. No, we'll say that we spent $1 advertising and the sales was 11,000. Something went drastically wrong here. Okay, it spoiled the whole thing. Whole relationship was spoiled. Now R is close to 0. When such a thing has happened, that means there is no, you cannot trust this model. R square has gone for a 6. Everything is bad. Okay, so we should either remove this data, saying that it is not in the normal line of things, or and continue with the model. Okay, or actually probably it is not a good indication. It's not causing sales to increase. Now here it is at $2 and it's 5,000. Okay, so it's getting bad. Fine. Any R squared more than 5.5 is good. You can say it is okay. Fine. Right. I'll put it back into place. Fine. So this is okay. Okay. Why is it going wrong? Why is it 92? Because when it was 3,000, it was 10,000 sales. When you increase the advertising by 1,000, it is only 9,000 sales. Okay. So if you make this like 11,000, and if you make this like 12,000, I think we'll get better relationships. Okay. We are going to get better relationships. Now this is a very good model. Okay. Now, advertising has got 92% influence on sales, which still says that there are some other factors. Okay. Now, in a multiple regression, there's going to be one dependent variable like sales, but many independent variable. A1 x1 plus A2 x2 plus A3 x3. Okay. Right. Fine. Let us say x1 here is advertising. Okay. X1 here is advertising, which has, we saw, a very good relationship. Okay. With sales. It has a very good relationship with sales. So this is advertising. Okay. And X2 can be years of experience of salespeople. Okay. X3 might be quality of the product. That also depends, right? Okay, quality of product. And each of these variables will be tested for R, the relationship, singularly. They will be taken individually and tested, the impact on sales. Okay. For example, number of years experience by salespeople. Has it bought more experience? Has it bought more sales? They would test it. Okay. The years of experience and the sales that person has brought. Okay, so that would be tested for R and R square, and also for T. Okay, the T value should be greater than 2. Then it can be included. You don't have to know how to calculate T. They will give you in the exam that it has a T value of such a thing. Is it a good variable to be included in the multiple regression equation? They will ask you that way. You understood? Whereas maybe when you plot education of the salespeople against the sales he brings, maybe the relation is not there at all. A highly qualified fellow might bring very less sales, whereas a fellow is not qualified will bring more sales. So then the education part, the R and the R square and the T, all will show very bad values. So we should not include it in the multiple regression. Only the variables which are tested individually and they show good R square, T values, those will be included in the multiple regression. Is that clear? Is that clear to you? So this is how the multiple regression actually works. You'll be given some questions on that. Probably they would put, a sales with advertising, years of experience, and probably educational qualifications of the salesman. Okay. And they will tell you to actually choose which one is a good fit. Should we include education when their values has been maybe education T value is like 0.01, 0.1, and R squared is like 0.06. Okay, so they will ask you whether you should include this in the multiple regression. The answer is obviously no, because it fails the test to be included. Got it? Got the concept, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, one thing you should note, regression is a part where people come down. Always I've heard people saying that the regression question was asked in such a way I could not understand only. Okay, I could not understand what they were asking. I couldn't understand the equation. Okay, they didn't understand words like outliers. Okay, so those kind of things will be a problem. Okay.